Hi, superstars. It's time for math, and we are on lesson 1-1 right here. Counting 1, 2, and 3. You will use objects to represent and count the quantities 1, 2, and 3. Counting tells us how many are in a set, regardless of their arrangement or the order in which they are counted. The last number said when counting a set is the total. Counting is cumulative. That means the more we count, the bigger that number is going to be. You will learn about 3 numbers in this lesson. They're up here. 1, 2, and 3. We can use numbers in many different ways. What numbers do you use to tell how old you are? Do you use the number 5 maybe? Or maybe the number 6? What numbers do you use to tell where you live? We all have different addresses and they're made up of different numbers, right? What number do you use to tell when your birthday is? Do you know when your birthday is? You're going to be using more numbers to tell us. Let's look at this page up here and let's look at this bird. This is Peep the bird. Now Peep the bird found some worms for her little babies. How can you find out how many worms she found? All right, I want you to hold up one finger. Can you hold up one finger? And let's say the number 1. All right, hold up 2 fingers now. Let's say the number 2. Good job. All right, can you hold up 3 fingers and say the number 3? Good job. Let's count those fingers now. You should have 3 fingers, right? Holding up 3 fingers. 1, 2, 3. Good job. I'm going to show you on this paper, I'm going to use these circles. These are what we call counters. So if we had some plastic counters, I would put a counter to show how many worms Peep found. So I drew one counter over here. Peep found 1 worm. Say the number 1 with me. 1. So here, this is going to represent this circle. It's going to represent 1 worm. So let's look at this box over here. Okay, I'm going to just put this around it here. We are going to color in this shaded portion to show how many worms are here. How many did we say we found? 1. Okay, I just underlined it. So let's color in this box to show that Peep found 1 worm. All right? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another counter on here. This represents another worm. How many worms does Peep have now? Let's count them together. Okay, here's 1 and 2. Peep found 2 worms. I just underlined them. So we're going to come over here and we're going to color in how many of these shaded rectangles. Here's 1. We're going to color in 2 to represent 2 worms. So I'm just going to color that in. A little sloppy, but that's okay. All right, so we have 2 boxes shaded in to represent our 2 worms here. All right. right, how about if I put one more counter? I'm going to color it in. How many worms did Pete find now? Can you count them? Let's start over here. 1, 2, and 3. Remember when you're counting to touch each object that you are counting, so that way you know which ones you counted. You can put a line under them like I did, or you can cross them out with an X to show that you counted them. So we counted 1, 2, 3. So what are we going to do down here in this box? How many rectangles or boxes should we color in to show that Pete found 3 worms? How many? 1, 2, and 3. We will color in 3 of these boxes or rectangles to show how many worms we counted. So we counted 3. All right, good job. Let's go to the next page now. Okay, let's look up at this picture over here. Let's look up over here. I see worms wiggling up from the ground. How many worms are there? Let's look at this picture now, the second picture. How do you know how many worms there are? Let's see. Let's count them together. 1. I want you to point to them as you're counting. 2, 3. So you touch each worm as you count. Remember that you can count objects to tell how many there are. And to keep track of what you counted, you can place a counter, which is a small flat circle, or you can color the box as you count, all right? So we counted 3 worms, correct? Let's look at this box over here. All right, let me get my color here. Let's look up, hold on. Let me get my little marker. Let's look at this box over here, okay? All right, so how can we find out how many counters there are? These are called counters. How do I find out how many there are? We count the counters. Does it matter which counter you count first? No, it doesn't. So why do you think there are 3 counters here? Let's count them. 1, 1. Let me get this to work. My drawing pencil went away. Here it is. Here's 1 counter. Remember, you're going to touch each one as you count. 2 counters, 3 counters. Why do you think there's 3 counters here? Well, how many worms did we have? Do you remember how many worms we had? We counted them together. 3 worms. So each counter is representing a worm. So 3 counters means that there's 3 worms. How does this picture over here, how does it show that we have 3 counters? What does it look like? Well, there's 3 boxes or rectangles, right? So they're all shaded. Do you see how they're all colored in? So let's count each of these boxes. 1, 2, 3. So 3 of these boxes are shaded, and that shows us that we have 3 counters. What else does it show us? That we have 3 worms. Correct. So that is showing us we have 3 worms. Okay? Let's look at number 1 over here. All right, let's count how many worms we have, and then we're going to see how many boxes we need to shade over here. So remember, we're going to touch the worm, or we are going to put a counter so that we know which worm we counted. And it doesn't matter where I start counting. I can start counting over here or here. It doesn't matter. So let's start over here. So I can even put a mark through it. 1, 2. So I know that I counted them because I put a mark through them. We counted 2 worms. So over here, how many boxes are we going to shade in? 2. Good job. So I'm going to shade in very carefully. 2 boxes. All right. Let's go to number 2. All right, let's start counting. Remember, you're going to touch each worm as we count. Here is 1, 2, 3. We counted 3 worms. So now let's look at this. How many boxes are shaded in? 3. So here's 1 box, 2, and 3. So that shows us we have 3 worms. Let's go to number 3. Let's count together. 1 worm. So how many boxes are we going to shade in? 1 box, because that is how many worms we counted. Good job, superstars. We're on number 4 now. All right, help me count. 1, 2, 3. All right, we counted 3 worms. How many boxes should we shade in? 1, 2, 3. Because we have 3 worms, we shade in 3 boxes. All right, we're at number 5. Make sure you're pointing as you're counting. 1, 2. 2 worms. How many boxes should we shade in? 2. 1, 2. Good job. That shows 2 worms. All right, we're on the last one. Let's count. 1. 1 worm. So how many boxes should I shade in or color in? 1 box, because we only have 1 worm. So that represents 1 worm. Good job, superstars. You are doing such a good job. Practice your counting. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye.